Welcome back, metalheads. Welcome to another edition of the Friday 13th YouTube channel. So today you're going to be watching a interview with a progressive metal band from America called Images of Eden. Now the interview was conducted with vocalist Gordan Tittsworth, fantastic singer. Thank you, Gordon, for the interview. Much love and respect to you, and good luck with the tour on the Wasp tour that's happening in Europe very soon. So the band have just released an EP. It's called Withered and Torn on Pavement Music. Check it out. It's a fantastic EP. And if you haven't heard these previous band's albums, please also check out Angel Born, Soul Rise, and two other great albums. So, metalheads, thanks for watching. Be safe. Please spread the word. Please share on social media sites. Stay metal, metalheads. More interviews coming soon. Cheers. Hey, Gordon.
Hey, what's going on, Jason? How you
Hey,
doing?
man. How are you? Nice to speak to you finally. How's things?
You too, man. Thanks so much for jumping right on this, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problems, my friend. So, are you familiar with Friday the 13th before we actually got in touch with each other?
I was not. No,
Okay. All right. Well,
no, but I appreciate it, man.
Friday the 13th's been around since 1988.
Nice.
It started out as a fanzine, if you remember the fanzines back in the 80s.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And then it went to a website and now it's a YouTube channel.
I'm thinking I probably did. I'm sure at some point in time, uh, saw a copy or had a copy because that back in the late '80s, man, I had a collection of so much stuff. So
So
very
you're in
cool.
Pittsburgh. Is that where you live? Is it Pittsburgh, is it?
I actually live about 3 or 4 hours east of Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh is actually pretty close to me. Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, thank you for doing this interview, Gordon. So, we're going to talk to Gordon from Images of Eden. Welcome to Friday the 13th. So, I'm going to ask you some warm up questions first, Gordon.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So, the first question is at what age did you become a singer? Was vocals the first instrument, or did you play guitar, drums? What came first?
Yeah, it's funny. When I was 13, I started playing guitar. That's all I ever wanted to do. And it's kind of funny. I was playing hours a night and got into my high school band, and we tried out so many singers, and none of them really worked out. And I never really wanted to be a singer, but it was crazy. It's when I heard the Fates Warning, Awaken the Guardian album with John Arch singing, that kind of changed everything for me. And I said, well, let me see if I have any sense of vocals whatsoever. And it was really rough at first. But yeah, I said, well, let me just stick with it and see what I can make happen. And next thing you know, I was like, okay, this is really, really working out well. I'm starting to improve my voice, play guitar. So I figured this really works out. I can do vocals and guitar. And fast forward, and now it's just, I do play guitar on the album, but I don't live, just vocals live.
Right, okay then. So, who inspired you to become a singer other than John Arch? Because I'm a Fates Warning fan myself. I love Ray and John.
Yeah, I mean, you probably won't be surprised. I mean, my favorites are the greats: John Arch, Jeff Tate, Bruce Dickinson. Strangely enough, though, Peter Steele, Hypo Negative was a massive influence on me, especially like Peter's emotion and the way he can convey it in his songs. So it's kind of funny if you look at Arch and then Peter Steele and hybrid those together. We're talking pop polar opposite ends, but yeah, all those guys had influence over the years.
So, was you a fan of Carnivore as well as Typo Negative?
I'm sorry. Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, I heard Carnivore before I heard Typo. I had Retaliation back in high school, and then a friend of mine let me hear Slow, Deep, and Hard, and I was like, wait a minute, this guy sounds like the singer of Carnivore. And then yeah, that's how that happened.
Yeah, cool. So was you influenced by people like Dio, obviously, Rob
Oh
Halford, Biff Byford from Saxon, any of those guys?
yeah, oh you definitely yeah, Halford, Dio, yeah, all those, yeah, the greats, absolutely. And actually, Lance King, believe it or not, from Nightmare Records, he was in a couple of bands, Balance of Power, Pyramase. I loved his Pyramase days. These were just amazing albums.
What did you think of his other band, Gemini, his first band?
I didn't go back that far, but really anything Lance King's vocals on, I'm a fan of. He's just a phenomenal singer.
Yeah, I used to be real good friends with Lance. I ain't spoken to him for a long time because he's got his Nightmare Records distribution. He's not really releasing any albums now, sadly.
Yeah, two of our earlier albums were actually on Nightmare just before our Soul Rise album. So Lance King's a great guy
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a
I
great
actually
singer.
saw Paramase live with Lance on vocals at Bloodstock Festival in England many years ago.
Wow, I remember that. Yep, I remember when he was headed out there. We were about to release our Sunlight of the Spirit album, I think it was. So yeah, he very cool.
So Gordon, what was your first band then before Images of Eden formed? What was your first band?
You know, when we were in high school, I started playing guitar, and my best friend in high school started playing guitar too. So we decided, well, let's see if we can't form a dual guitar band. And it's being like 14, 15, 16, it was hard to kind of put all that together because that was pre-internet and pre-driver's license and pre-internet. We're not going to get very far. Uh, so but yeah, we had funny enough, our very first band was in high school. We named it Burning Ambition, which was actually named after the first Iron Maiden song written. So that lasted probably to about 1992. And then after that, kind of in and out of bands over the years. And always had a specific vision that I wanted to put out there. So in 1998, I got fired from a band called Out of Nowhere. And I said, okay, perfect time for me to do to bring this vision to life. And a friend of mine who was actually a studio drummer said, "Great, I'll play drums in the studio for you. You do the rest, and then use this to form the band." And that's exactly what I did. And that was Images of Eden. I'd done some vocal for hire work for multiple bands since then. But really, at this point in time, I'm not doing anything else. I mean, everything was a means to an end. Everything that I was doing was to try to gain contacts or to get Images of Eden in a place to where I wouldn't need anything else. And that's kind of where we are now. So, yeah, I'm just putting all of my eggs in this basket.
Right, excellent. So the name Images of Eden, it's a fantastic name. Who came up with the name?
My wife did actually. Well, funny enough, the first album was going to be called Images of Eden, and I didn't have a band name, and I couldn't think of a band name. And she said, if you look at what you're writing and your vision and your message, this is a perfect band name. I thought, yeah, you're right. So I just ran with it, and yeah, it's stuck right away.
All right, because your first album, Chapter One, I mean that came out in 2001, didn't it?
Yep, yep,
Yes,
that's it.
that only featured yourself and session drummer
Yep,
Steve.
exactly. Yep, that was a great album to record and a fun time.
So I mean that album was that wasn't released on Nightmare Records, was it?
No, that one was just kind of released just kind of like through us, and it was a digital only release. Well, we started printing, kind of burning copies as needed back in the old days. Never officially released on a label, but there and right now it is available in digital format. We didn't sign with anybody till Sunlight of the Spirit, which was Nightmare Records. So yeah, Sunlight of the Spirit and Rebuilding the Ruins were Nightmare, and then we signed with Pavement for Soul Rise, and have been there since.
Right then, so the second album, Sunlight and the Spirit, that came out in 2006, I believe.
Yes, you
And
got
that
it.
features Dennis on lead guitar and Matt on drums. How did you hook
Yeah,
up with those guys?
yeah. We've been through a lot of members in this band over the years. Actually, 22. Not that I'm counting.
How did you hook up with those guys for the album?
I'm not really sure now that I think back. Because at the time I lived in Baltimore, Maryland, got did the first album, and as a matter of fact, I think I put a couple of ads in a couple of local on a couple of local sites. Got some bites, put the first incarnation of Images of Eden together, which is what we use to track Sunlight of the Spirit. And then some things just kind of changed a lot after that, and I found myself kind of playing the other parts. Like for Rebuilding the Ruins, I went back to play. I played all the rhythm guitar. I played bass again on that album, acoustic guitar, and some of the keys. So it's been kind of like a piecemeal thing. Wherever we have a gap, whenever we get to recording, I just kind of fill in that gap. But we more or less had to try to start from scratch after Sunlight of the Spirit and Reform for Rebuilding the Ruins. Then we had to do it again for Soul Rise, but we've got a pretty solid lineup now, and I don't see anything changing, thankfully.
Right, when you said that you lived in Baltimore, you probably know a lot of friends of mine because I was in Baltimore in 1997. Do you know Keith
Okay.
Menzer?
Yes, he was in Images briefly.
Right, because
Yeah,
I stayed at his house back in '97. I went to the Power Mad Festival. Did you actually play that? Did you ever go to that festival?
we actually formed right after Keith stopped doing it. Uh, because I remember when we were forming, I said I really want to play Power Mad, and I think Keith he stopped doing it at that point and was reforming Mystic Force, I believe.
Yeah, I think he only did two festivals. I went to the very first one in '97,
All right.
and I
Yeah.
stayed at his house for like a week. Sadly, he's passed away, as we all know. Fucking
I
great
know.
guy. We
Yeah.
had a
Really, really good guy.
lot of respect for each other, me and Keith.
Absolutely. Yep. I think we all do, man.
You know,
Definitely.
Baltimore was quite a scene for like power metal, wasn't it? It was like there was like you had Mercury Rising. Do you know those guys?
Yeah. Yeah. Chris Brush, the bass player of Mercury Rising, jammed with us at the very early days. It was with us for a couple of months, but he had a lot on his plate, so he couldn't continue. But excellent band, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There was another band as well, Amiga Point. I think they were a Baltimore band as well.
Man, they used to be called Immortal Rain way back in the day, and they changed their name to Omega Point. Love those guys. I saw them probably in 1990, 91. Yeah, great progressive band.
And there was another band called Have Mercy. They were like Agent Steel.
Yes. Yeah, I know all these guys. Yeah, John Norline Nort, who is the drummer of Have Mercy. So yeah, on Noise Records.
These bands need to reform.
Yes.
Definitely. You know, okay, interesting to know that, like, Gordon. I didn't know you lived in Baltimore. I'm surprised I didn't meet you when I was out there at Keith's house.
It was I was trying to break into everything around 97, 98. I wasn't really I didn't really that's it. I think that's when I was mainly recording the first Images album. So I think it was around 2001 when I started to kind of jump into the scene. So but yeah, just around that time I kind of connected with all those guys. So great, yeah, definitely great bands out of Baltimore.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, you did the EP afterwards, Tribal Scars, the three songs.
That's right. Yep.
Was that released on Nightmare Records as well?
No, that was actually Tribal Scars, a long story about how that happened. That was it was supposed to be, long story short, we were supposed to release Rebuilding the Ruins on another label. And that label we released the Tribal Scars extended single on that. Didn't really like how the label was handling some things. So we canceled the contract and went, Lance King released it for us. Rather not get into too much detail about that, but yeah, they one of their main guy who was with this label, they pretty much took his they hired him, brought him on to take his clientele, and then fired him. So I didn't quite like that, and some of the other bands didn't either. So we kind of withdrew our contracts. But I don't know what's happened with them. I don't even really want to go into that, but
Yeah.
that was then. And I think that's really the only thing that's really not officially in a revenue stream is that particular EP, but I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, like you say, but Rebuilding the Ruins was on Nightmare Records. I mean, that must have
Yeah.
been a better seller for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Lance took great care of us.
I mean, after that, you did the next album. This is why you changed the band logo, and I really like the newer logo. I think it gives more of a, especially with the album covers that you've done. The last two album covers have been fantastic. So
Yeah.
that the Images of Eden logo actually goes better with that them album covers than the older ones. Do you agree?
Absolutely did. Yeah. We found Jan Erlin, who is, uh, I believe he's from Finland, amazing artist. And he did Soul Rise, Angel Born, and Weathered and Torn for us. So we're not going to any other artist. He's at www.darkgrove.net. This guy's amazing. He's done a lot of good album covers for a lot of bands. So
Right.
yeah, and it's funny, every time we give him an idea of an album cover, he takes however long he needs to take and shoots us back a draft, and every time we're blown away. It's just this guy just exceeds our expectations every time.
Right, it's a really good cover. I mean, this album was released on Pavement Entertainment. They're from Chicago area, out there, Illinois.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you've got Bill Matoy producing. That must have been something interesting on for the Soul Rise album, getting him involved because he's done some
Yeah,
classic
actually,
Metal Blade albums in the past.
oh yeah, yeah. He did Soul Rise and Angel Born, and it was funny because I had been trying to get his attention probably since the mid '80s and was never successful. And our drummer Steve Dorsum, when Steve came on board, he goes, "Yeah, I know Bill." It's like, "You know Bill?" He goes, "Yeah, let me I can." He connected me to Bill. I reached out to Bill and said, "I'd love for you to do this album." He said, "Send me some demos and let me see what I have to like it, and then I'll get back to you." I sent him the demos. He said, "Yeah, I would love to do the album." So I've wanted to work with him for so many years, so that was just pretty amazing. And we sent him all the files for him to mix the Soul Rise album. And then it was right around, I'm going to say, the end of 2017. We went out there to help, help him finish it up and wrap it up. And it was awesome because he said a lot of good things and he really liked the album. So he actually shopped labels for us. He was the one that actually contacted Pavement and actually got us signed with Pavement. So Bill Matoyer is the man, definitely.
Do you know, I'm really surprised he didn't put you forward to Metal Blade Records because most of his productions are Metal Blade artists.
He did he did, but we looked at a lot of things, and the signs kind of pointed to Pavement, and yeah, we just weighed out everything and just went with Pavement, and kind of glad we did. But yeah, he did throw it out to about 10 or 12 different labels, but yeah, I think we made the right choice because Pavement really has gotten us. Just we were here, Pavement's pushing us, and we're just climbing up the ladder. And so, I mean, we're extremely happy with those guys.
I mean, Pavement Records, are there something to do with members of Soilwork? Not Soilwork, Soil.
Uh,
Soil.
yeah, so yeah, Tim King from Soil, exactly.
Yeah, I thought so. I met him because I think he's in a death metal band as well as Soil, if I believe right.
Yes, yep, yep.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Good
how
stuff.
did you come up with the name Soul Rise? Who came up with the title?
I don't know. It just kind of boom popped in one day, and I said, "That's the name of the album," and that's yeah. I didn't really even think about it. I had a couple of names kind of that I was messing with, and then it just hit me. Soul Rise. I said, "Yep, that's it." And I have nothing good for that other than it just smacked me in the face one day.
I was just looking at the album for Rebuilding the Ruins. You've got like an angel on the cover, and you've got the same on that album as well for Soul Rise, haven't you? The angel again.
Yeah, it is a reoccurring piece of imagery, and it kind of goes also with the lyrics. And so, yeah, you will definitely see that kind of as a reoccurring thing. Um, yeah, it just both albums are very different, but at the end of the day, they're the same. It's just the struggle of life and everything that we're faced with, and everything that we get thrown at us. And it's just trying to get past all the negativity in the world. And but yeah, the angel is sort of the recurring theme and protector, guider, messenger, as it were, that kind of helps
Right then,
through
I
all
mean,
this, for
the
lack of a
next
better term.
album, the next album that he did was called Angel Born. That was released in 2021. I love the artwork for that as well. It's really good artwork.
Awesome. Yeah, that is by far my favorite Images album of all time, Angel Born. It just we worked on that, and then kind of I had something that I massive loss that I had to deal with in 2017, and it kind of shook up my world, and it was unexpected and just really affected me. But that album got written pretty quickly, and it was a huge healing experience, kind of writing Angel Born. And yeah, so it's just I was really happy with the turnout. The songs, the actual songwriting, the diversity on the album, and so like when we play live and the people say, I don't know which one to get. I'm like, Angel Born, that's the one. I just happen that's my favorite, and I'm just going to probably continue to promote that.
Right then, so between Soul Rise, how long did it take to record the Soul Rise album? And the same for Angel Born. What period for both albums?
Yeah, Soul Rise took a while to write and record, a couple of years actually. I was doing a lot of things kind of alongside of that. Moved out of state, had to move a couple of times. Was doing vocals for hire for another band and
Which
upgrading
band
my
was that,
studio
Gordon?
equipment.
Which band was that?
Born of Fire, Dead Winter Sun.
Yeah, I know they are.
But yeah, did vocals for hire for Born of Fire, and then reformed the Images. It was just so much going on. So I would say the writing and recording process for Soul Rise was probably several years, I'm going to say. Whereas Angel Born, I got 9 of the 11 songs done within 3 months, essentially writing and demoed out. One was a cover of Triumph's Fight the Good Fight, and the other two original songs were kind of stragglers that I added later on. But yeah, that was quick, and I'll tell you what, Weathered and Torn. I think it was 4 months from the time that I started until the time I was wrapping up the mixing. Although I did have some things kind of written, but long story short, when we were talking to our label last year about what to do, and they mentioned, hey, you know what, we need to break into Europe. Said you guys are always kind of like walking the line between melodic and heavy. So just push it a little bit over the edge of heavy, and see if it can open a few doors in Europe. So I mean, we knocked that EP out quick. I think about 4 months from beginning to end. Released it exactly 1 week before we toured the U.S. with Michael Schenker, and then as soon as we got done with the U.S. tour, it was an exhausting year last year. Came home and relaxed for a little bit. And next thing you know, this European tour with Wasp
Yeah.
fell right on our laps, and I thought, wow, this is absolutely perfect. So we grabbed that and ran.
Okay, then. So I'm going to ask you about the lineup then. Since the Soul Rise, you've got Eric on bass. Which band was Eric in before Images
He
of
was
Eden?
with a band with that Steve. He was, I think, in the '80s called Ripsaw. The two of them had been playing together since they were like 17 or 18.
Right. Okay. And when you've also got Dean, what band was Dean in?
He's been with us since Rebuilding the Ruins. But other than that, he does like a progressive rock cover band, kind of, on the side, and just keeping his chops well oiled. So
Okay, and
yeah,
you've got like Carlos. What band was he in before joining the
he
band?
was. He's been in a couple of different bands. He Armageddon out of Tijuana, Mexico, because he's. I think he's originally from Chihuahua, moved to Tijuana. Now he moved back. He's actually in Juarez, which is right over the El Paso, Texas border. And so yeah,
Because
everybody. It's funny because
he actually
everybody's
left the
spread up.
band, didn't he? He actually left the band, then you got Victor, and then he came back again. What happened there?
Yeah, they. Yeah, it just as something happened, and he couldn't continue on, and we brought Victor in. Victor did an amazing job for Angel Born, and he couldn't continue on, and it just happened to be perfect time because Carlos was ready to jump back in. So it was seamless both times, and we're glad to have him back.
Right then. So I mean, just before we talk about the EP, I mean, you did a tour with Ingve Malmsteen. Was it last year? I remember because I was watching you on Facebook. How successful was that for you?
Really good. It was an interesting tour because Ingve Malmsteen, I'm sure you can
Say no
imagine.
more.
Exactly, yeah. He was fine. I mean, it's everybody's got their opinion about him, man. And people were saying things or whatever. I'm like, look, I know how Ingve thinks, and just being on tour with him, he was very easy to read. Here's a guy who is I mean, he's a perfectionist. We know how good he is. He wants everything a certain way, and I understand that. I can agree with that to a pretty good degree. And that's all he wants. He just wants things. He wants things to be a certain way, and when they're not that way, he wants them that way. So I mean, we've talked to him offline. He's actually pretty laid back. He's actually a laid back guy, and he was actually pretty cool when we met him. But I get it. You just want you've got a vision. You want it to be what you want it to be, and when it's not, it's frustrating. And but yeah, he took good care of us. He actually complimented us when we met him towards the end of the tour. So to get a compliment from Ingve Malmsteen is pretty huge because he's Ingve Malmsteen, and you really don't expect him to give out compliments, so he doesn't have to. So when he actually does give a compliment, it's pretty cool. That
Yeah.
means he's pretty sincere about it. So
I mean,
yeah,
you've
it was a
played.
great tour.
I mean, you've played with also Dora Passion, Jeff Tate, I believe.
Yeah, Doro was awesome. She is super super cool,
Yeah.
as real as it gets. We didn't really see her much. She would basically show up when it was time to go on. Her band pretty much did the sound check. She would go on, she would do the set, and she would leave. But she caught one of our sets, and we ran into her outside, and she said some really good things. So it was really cool to hear uh, from Doro. But we did just a one-off show with Jeff Tate. Um, but that was really cool too. Another one of my vocal heroes.
Yeah. What about the Michael Schenker? How good? Was that the last concert tour you did then, Michael Schenker?
Yes, that was a great tour, and it was funny because It's like every time we would get to a hotel, almost by clockwork. Oh, there's Michael. We'd see him at every hotel. It was like it got so used to it. It was like we would show up. Okay, yep, there he is. Okay, yep, here we are again. So I guess when we were booking our route, whoever booked his had the exact same thought process, because I would say 9 out of 10 times we were in the same hotel. It was pretty cool. But yeah, his band was great. Really good guys in that band too. Um, but yeah, they treated us really well.
Okay, then so you're about to go on Wasp very shortly. There's no UK dates for this tour, is there?
There is, but we couldn't do the whole tour. The original tour came across our desk and it was 9 weeks and 45 shows, ended up being 47 shows. And we just couldn't get away for that long. So we went back and said, well, can you do half of it? He said, yeah, absolutely, we'll do half. I'm bummed that we're not making UK dates because I've been waiting a long time to play UK. Last time I was there was 1995, and it wasn't for music. But yeah, I miss the UK. Love that country, and I'm going to miss playing there. But hopefully, this will stir up enough buzz that we can get back to Europe. And when we do, make sure we play the UK.
No, do you know, I honestly think that you guys would be great supporting Queensryche in the UK. Maybe you should put in
I
for
would
that.
think so too.
I think you
Yeah,
should put
I
in
mean,
for
hey,
it.
Queensryche would be great. I mean, I say, people, the question has been asked of us before. It says, well, if you could tour with any one band, or what would be the ideal band? I said, well, that's simple, Iron Maiden, because we're very similar in sound, and Maiden fills stadiums. So yes, but yeah, Maiden or Queensryche would really be great. I mean, we're very comparable with both. We're fans of both, and it would be a great tour.
Well, if you come over with Queensryche, as you know, I'm a drum tech for Anvil. You know,
Yep.
I'll come out and tech for you guys.
Oh, that'd be great. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
just before we talk about the EP, then, so how do you see each album as a progression before the
I love
EP?
your questions, by the way. Your questions are you can tell you did your homework. So I want to thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Every album is a snapshot in time, and almost kind of like where I am or where I was during the writing process of that album. So you will see each album kind of have its own theme and almost its own sound. And I mean, I guess at the end of the day, you want each album to be better than the previous. You always, whatever you write, you want to be able to write something better and kind of outdo that previous one. In my opinion, Angel Born is going to be hard to outdo. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, every album is definitely a snapshot in time. With obviously Weathered and Torn being the heaviest. Uh, that album actually, and talk about kind of where we were each time. We always put an uplifting message and a very positive message out there. And no matter what we're going through, we always want to put that positive message out there, even if we don't always feel positive. That was a little difficult to do during Weathered and Torn, because that EP was basically our reaction and our response to COVID and essentially what we were all put through. And it was hard to remain positive after that. I mean, I'm one of those that I don't believe the story the media was trying to sell us. I don't believe any of it. I'll leave it at that. It was a frustrating time. It was a way, I think, I don't care who you are, what country you're in. If you say COVID didn't affect you in some way, I wouldn't totally believe you. I think we were all affected. And, but this was just sort of uh, our reaction, and it was an angry reaction. It was basically saying, we know you were affected, and it's okay. It's okay not to be okay right now. It's okay to be pissed off. It's okay to feel like you've been betrayed, because a lot of us feel that way. So that was sort of what that was, and it was hard not to keep it heavy. Um, but even with it being a frustrating period in time, no matter what we've gone through, there's always going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. So even though we went through what we went through with COVID, we came out of it. We're still alive, and we're still ready to move forward. And that's kind of how we are. They're basically saying there's so many people who agree with you. Talk to somebody if things aren't great. If things, it's okay not to be okay. And that's essentially what we were saying with that one.
Yeah, what did you? I mean, obviously you've seen the album review that I've done, the EP review I've just done for you. I mean, for me, like I said in the review, there's a lot of bands like Seventh Sign, Z Lot Z, Nevermore, Fate's Warning. I guess you agree with what I said then on the review.
Yeah, it was very clear that, and it's funny because I've never really heard it compared to certain things, but when I heard you say Nevermore, I was like, okay, that's cool. So yeah, you mentioned us next to some amazing bands, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just thought that with the detailed guitar song from what you've done in the previous albums, it's gone heavier. So you've
Yeah,
obviously been inspired by that. So, and obviously, like you said, you've been pissed off with what's happened in the world. So that's
yeah,
made you go more heavier.
yeah. And it's funny because I've always listened to heavy music, even though we've always played, essentially progressive metal or progressively influenced metal. I'd listen to everything from, Queensryche, Fates Warning, Dream Theater to, I mean, Pantera, Killswitch Engage. I mean, like I love Killswitch Engage. It's one of my favorite newer metal bands, and it's high energy, it's heavy, and so some of my heavier influence comes from them too. But yeah, just I always love the heavy end as well.
Okay, then. So the EP's only got 5 songs. Have you got enough material wrote for a new album?
We're on it right now. So yeah, I mean, I never turn it off. It always goes. So it's just a matter of capturing things as they hit me. And so yeah, I mean, I've got multiple songs kind of in process, lyric wise and music wise. So I would say probably about 6 or 7 things working demos now that I'm gonna chip away at over time. So yeah, with the goal, I mean, obviously the goal from here is to write another full length and then get that out. Who knows when? I know, it's not going to be before this tour, but I would imagine, based on what I know today, after the European tour, we'll get home and just sort of unpause the writing piece and kind of let things happen. But yeah, when it's ready, we're not going to do another EP. I mean, we're going to do another full length album. So, which is what we like to do anyway. I mean, I'm personally not a fan of EPs. We did it. We did this one for a reason. We wanted to get something out there to get it over to Europe. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, as a fan, when a band I like releases an album, I don't want 7 songs, 40 minutes running time. I want 13, 14 songs, 65, 70 minutes. I mean, hit me over the head with a big whopper. That's what I want. So that's what we're going to give the audiences.
So,
And
so, so is this new album that you're going to be doing? Is it going to be as heavy as this EP, or is this a one-off just to get for the insight for the European fans?
that's a great question. And that's one that I kind of teeter with sometimes. I'm thinking, we've gotten such great reviews from Weathered and Torn. Uh, so I don't know. I think the best thing I can do right now is to not plan anything, but just see what hits me as far as inspiration goes. Because there's definitely some heaviness that I got 2 songs that are pretty heavy as far as the demos go, and then I've got the mid tempo songs, kind of like an Angel Born extension. So I think we're a little bit over the all over the map, but nothing is done until it's done. So we'll see. But there'll definitely be a couple of super heavy face melters on there, just because we clearly saw how those were received. So we're going to keep on those.
Right, because they said the cover for that is going to look great as a T-shirt.
Yeah, and matter of fact, we got the U.S. shirts done. It looks really good. The blue looks really good, and I just we sent the European tour shirt design off to the I guess the manufacturing company. I think we're getting a company in Europe that's actually going to print these. So yeah, I can't wait to see the updated shirts because they did look good
Save
before.
me a copy.
Yeah, hey man, absolutely.
So,
Well,
Gordon, I'd like to thank you for doing this interview. Do you have anything to say to the people watching this on YouTube?
well, no, first and foremost, Jason, thanks a million for having me, man. I appreciate you reaching out. I appreciate you, willing to do it. And I will have to tell you this, we do a pretty good amount of interviews, and a lot of them seem, not a lot, enough of them, let's just say, seem to ask the same questions that you can find online. You really took the time to do your homework. You really did. You took the time to dig, and what you were
Thank
asking
you.
were questions. Yeah, and I want to make sure I say that you were clearly asking questions that were thought provoking, stuff that was not on the surface, stuff that you could tell you dug. So I just want to thank you for that, and I love it when I get interviewers that ask questions that make me think, that aren't answering the same thing over and over. So yeah, thank you very much for that. And I always want to tell anytime we are doing an interview or with anyone, either radio or press. I mean, it's you guys that we want to thank, because we're the musicians. We need people. We have the material. We need people to take our material and push it out to the world. That's where you come in. So we thank you guys more than you'll ever know, because you're helping us get this stuff to the world, which is all we could ever want.
Thanks, brother.
So
Well,
really appreciate that. Yeah, the only
35.
other thing I would say is just, our website is a one-stop shop, imagesofeden.com. We make sure that we keep it updated. It's got everything you can need, links to our social media, links to YouTube, news, video, audio, pictures, the album releases, online store, links, the whole 9 yards. So that's sort of our one-stop shop for everything.
Well, this interview is going to be online within the next hour, so I'll send you the link, and if you want to put it on your website, I'd much appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we will definitely be sharing it through social media, and also definitely appreciate it, Jason. And yeah, man, thanks for everything, brother.
You're welcome. Keep in touch, and all the best for the tour.
Oh, you got it. Yep, definitely keep in touch, man. You
And
take care.
brilliant. Thank you, Gordon. Have a nice day, my friend.
You too, brother.
Yeah,
Thank
keep
you
in
so
touch,
much, Jason.
brother. Thank you.
You got it. We'll
Bye.
talk to you soon, man.
Cheers, brother. Bye bye.